who has a question for Mr. Lynch? Yes, please stand. Please stand.
You had a chance to see much of the city, and if so, it's changed quite a bit.
I was here a couple years ago, and I went around the city, and it has changed, for sure. I was telling everybody, when I was here, every building was black, soot-covered, and every building had a mood, and it was before graffiti, so it was very pure, very filthy, but had a beautiful mood. And aluminum storm windows and graffiti came, and that pretty much destroyed the mood.
Do you think now you would have found it a source of some inspiration?
I don't think so. It's more of a normal city now. It wasn't a normal city when I was here.
Another question. Yes, in the back.
How does it feel to hear your own music coming in while you're doing the press conference?
It was nice. Kind of hard to believe.
Yes.
2 questions. First, who killed Laura Palmer? And second, what do you get out of painting that you don't get from making film?
Every medium is different. I only wanted to be a painter. I got into film by accident in this very building in one of the studios right over here. And the first film I ever made is now being shown here as it was when I made it. And it was projected in this room, almost just to the right of where you're sitting on a 16 millimeter projector. The screen was hanging by chains because the image was bigger than what I wanted, and the bad part had to fall away in the back. So, and then I had a tape recorder with a loop of Siren, and it was played right here. So it was real, and I've been painting ever since. And but I get something from painting that I don't get from any other medium, for sure. Love it.
Yes.
I went to school with Bruce Samuelson here. Please stand up and say hello, Bruce.
Hey, Bruce.
And it was a great time. Great students were here, and everybody was a worker. Everybody worked, and we inspired one another. It was a real good time. Okay.
Forward looking at your work, was there any reticence towards looking back?
No, I think it's good. When I went around looking at the show upstairs, I got ideas. So I think it's good to look back sometimes and see what you were into, and that can fuel ideas for what you're working on now.
If you don't mind, was there any particular work that either sparked a particular memory, sparked a particular way forward that you think?
Well, there's a couple of things, but I haven't seen some of these paintings that are in the show since the 60s. And I have to say that Roger Lapel and Christine McGinnis, they were saints to me back then. And Roger and Christine hired me to print engravings at their place. And it pretty much saved my life. And then Roger would pay me to paint. If I wanted to come up on a Saturday or Sunday, I would paint, and he would give me money, like $25, and keep the work. So he really saved me, and Christine and Roger. So some of the paintings that they have kept so beautifully through the years are in the show.
Yes.
Do you think you would be the artist you are today if not for Philadelphia? And if not, what was it about this city in particular that made you who you are today?
I always say Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is my biggest influence. There's something about the mood here And the fear, insanity, corruption, filth, despair, violence in the air was so beautiful to me.
Peter.
You mentioned before that you thought Philadelphia is something that was pure. You used the term pure.
What I meant by pure was that it was not fiddled with with graffiti. The buildings were built in a very beautiful way here in Philadelphia. The row houses and the office buildings and the factories and the railroad yards all were so beautifully built. And then the industry put a soot on everything. And it was very, very beautiful to me. The proportions of the rooms in Philadelphia were different than I had seen before. And in those days, there was dark carved wood banisters and stairways, and there was a certain type of green that they would paint the rooms, either white or this strange green with this dark wood. And it was a kind of a poor feeling, but it had the rooms had nice proportions. So there was a certain kind of unique look and a purity. It hadn't been disturbed, except by the soot.
Yes.
There's a neighborhood slightly north of here that many of us refer to informally as the Eraser Hood. And I'm just curious if you have had an opportunity to revisit that area recently.
Well, I don't know exactly where it is, but I'm supposed to go visit them, and I'm gonna go during this week. If it's over, I've heard it's near 13th and Wood, where I lived for a while.
It's just around there. Yeah.
And that area I went to a couple years ago on my last trip here. Totally different, maybe ruined. Huh?
So it's a little nicer, therefore it's ruined?
Yeah.
Yes.
When you do your paintings, do you associate a certain painting with maybe a certain scene in the movies?
No, it's totally separate. Maybe some drawings or some paintings have given an idea for a film, but mostly they're just two separate worlds.
Yes.
Why is all this fear, inciting corruption and violence beautiful to you?
I don't know. It just, I think it just gave a lot of ideas. It gave me something that carried with me when I left here, and a kind of a fuel, a certain way of seeing things.
One of the things you said to me while we were working on the show was that it wasn't any one particular thing or scene that you witnessed here. It was the mood and is what some of the images did when they got down inside of you.
Yeah, Philadelphia is percolating in me.
Yes.
Do you think you were meant to be a filmmaker?
Was I meant to be a filmmaker? I don't know. Maybe so. But I came about it in a strange way. I wasn't ever a film buff. I'm still not a film buff. I thought of it at first as just a moving painting. I was going to be working with Bruce on this. It just didn't work out. Huh? And it's just weird. how I just kept getting green lights in cinema.
Yes.
So if you feel that Philadelphia is a different mood now, how would you describe it? How would it inspire somebody trying to do a similar thing?
Philadelphia now, to me, is very much brighter than it was when I was here. And it's more, like I said, normal. It reminds me of, I don't feel that it's cut off from the world. I feel it's part of the world. When I was here, it was a very kind of lost, remote corner of the world. And, you know, it used to be that Philadelphia had a certain way of dressing, a certain type of music they liked. Brooklyn had a certain way people dressed and a certain kind of music, and LA had a certain way they dressed, a certain music like that. Now everything is more uniform, and it gives this, that's the way I feel about Philadelphia. It's joined the rest of the world, and it's more normal, and it's much cleaner. And there's no smoking anywhere. I used to smoke all through this building.
Peter, you had another question.
I noticed that a lot of the paintings and drawings, prints upstairs, there's a lot of text. There's a lot of text. Do you see your paintings as down?
Yeah, little stories. I like to think of a little story or characters in a world, a tiny, maybe a few frames before the one you see and a few frames after.
Are you ever disappointed that you're better known as a filmmaker than a painter?
No, I just like to paint. And I had some shows, but, you know, it's sad, but when you're known for one thing and you do something else, it's not taken so seriously. But now the world is different. In that way, it's much better. People do many different things now, and it's fine. There's all these mediums that are open to us, and we can just go merrily along into one if the ideas come, one or another.
Yes.
Is all your painting work autobiographical?
None of it is.
Yes.
Give me inspiration to talk about how does your involvement with meditation impact your work?
I practice Transcendental meditation as taught by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And it's a technique, a mental technique, that ancient form of meditation Maharishi brought back that allows any human being to transcend, go beyond, it means, the field of relativity, experience non-relative absolute, all positive, pure consciousness, unbounded intelligence, creativity, energy, peace, happiness. And it's a beautiful experience. They say transcending is a holistic experience. All avenues of life improve. So I found that I was happier in the doing. Ideas flowed more freely. And I felt more and more really good in the body. When you start expanding consciousness, really expanding it, negativity starts lifting away. And that's what happened. I felt like a heavy weight started to lift, and it was very beautiful.
Yes.
I think because you come from this art school background rather than, say, a classical film background, you mentioned yourself you're not a film buff, that you're more open to ambiguity in your film work?
I don't know. It doesn't mean if you go to art school you're going to love abstractions or ambiguity. But something about absurdity and a surreal world got born in Philadelphia, I think.
Yes.
Do you have any projects in the offing?
No, I'm working on a painting.
Yeah.
How do you see the world now? What things matter you or inspire you and want you to say something?
I am really not, I can feel the world, but I don't watch too much TV. I do when I travel. So I saw TV yesterday. I saw a story about a man who hit a woman in an elevator so hard that it knocked her out, and he dragged the woman out of the elevator and flopped her on the ground. So that's one thing I saw. Yeah, it could have been right out of one of my films, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I noticed upstairs in one of your paintings there was Bob, and does that have any connection to?
No, people ask me that. There's many different people named Bob. One of them sitting right next to me. You don't have to be afraid of Bob here, this one. And you don't have to be afraid of the Bob up there, really, either.
But you have to be afraid of Mr. Redman, right?
Mr. Redman comes to visit us sometimes.
Anybody else who hasn't asked a question? Yes. Could you stand up and speak so everybody could hear you? That'd be great.
Do you remember any of your buildings opening when you were a child?
I loved to draw when I was little. And my mother, bless her heart, refused to give me coloring books. And she got my dad to bring home used paper, and so there'd be some typing or something on one side, and I'd draw on the other. And I drew knives, guns, airplanes, and I always say my favorite was the Browning automatic submachine gun. And I didn't do a lot of painting, but I did a lot of drawing. And I always thought that adults couldn't do that. When you got to be an adult, it was, you had to get some kind of job other than drawing. And I was totally amazed when I learned that that wasn't true. And then from that moment, I wanted to be a painter.
Yes, in the lavender shirt.
So you guys had a lot of questions about how the city influenced you. I'm kind of curious, what about some other places you've lived in life, like any of the places you lived prior to moving to Philly, or like Los Angeles? Like how have those other places you've lived, have their influences in your life?
I grew up in the Northwest, so experiences there have influenced me. And LA has influenced. When you live in a place, you get stuff from the world. But really and truly, maybe the age I was when I was here and things I experienced, no place has influenced me as much as Philadelphia.
Yes.
So the film and television making process is really collaborative, whereas the media process is very solitary. Can you talk about the difference in that?
It's collaborative in cinema, but still one person makes the decision. And it's like if you had a bunch of people and some were helping mix green and some were helping mix yellow, and they feed you the stuff, but you have to make the decision where you put the stuff, put the color. And so you have a lot of help. And I always say, you get an idea, and then all you have to do is, if you fall in love with it, translate that idea to cinema and stay true to that idea as you do the translation. And you get all the people helping you through words to try to catch that same feel of that idea, so we're all going down the same road together. And in painting, it's pretty much just you and the painting, but you're still trying to, get ideas onto the thing and stay true to that and find your way. It's similar in a way. All of them are, mediums are similar in some ways. Ideas are the thing you want.
Yes, you haven't asked a question.
Are there any contemporary visual artists that interest you or you find particularly innovative?
Kanye.
Kanye West. There's a lot of work that I really like. Pardon?
What works from art history do you like?
I don't know anything about art history. And I'm not proud of that, really. It just had never interested me. Same with cinema history. I just like to work. I don't care what happened yesterday, really.
Yes.
You keep referring to yourself as a painter instead of like an artist. And I was wondering is there a difference to you and why?
Well, if you were, it just helps narrow it down.
Okay, I think we have time for 2 more questions. So, and if anybody who hasn't asked a question yet has something, please don't be shy. Yes?
You mentioned a recurring character called Redmond. Do you sometimes imagine the characters in different paintings inhabiting the same universe or the same town?
It could be. It could be.
Yes.
I would argue that the violence and corruption is very much alive and well in the city. Does it work as a commentary on that?
No. I think it's, I always say, the world does inspire many ideas. But once you catch an idea that you love, it's just really trying to realize that idea. It's not a commentary on anything. It could be seen that way by some people, but people see the work as many different ways as there are people.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, David. And I think that he will be around all week. Hopefully you can come to some of the other events he's going to be at where he'll be speaking, and there'll be another opportunity for Q&A. If you're in the audience, David has been very generous with his time this week in Philadelphia. We're really very happy and humbled by that. So thanks for coming.
I want to thank also the donut people for this. This you? Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much.